Welcome everyone to Daf Yomi Nedarim, um, 1 week at a time. This week we will be, this is our ninth shiur, and we will be reviewing Daf 58 to 63. I hope everyone had a wonderful Chanukah. Um, I will mention it at the end again. But next week, there's also going to be a change. I apologize in advance. But next week, class will be on, I think, Sunday night. Um, so just letting everybody know. Let me just confirm that 1 second. Yes, class will be on Sunday night. Um, so yes, we will see you. I will see you next week again. Okay, let's begin. Daf 58. We had a question last week that we're going to continue speaking about. Speaking about this week, the question was about an onion that was uprooted during a Shemitah year, and excuse me, and then it was planted again on the 8th year, and then in the 8th year it grew. What's unique about onions is that they don't kind of disappear, right? They're like a bulb, so the onion remains even though the growth might be much more. The question is, what is this new growth, right? Is it seen as a seventh year, meaning Shemitah onion, and therefore not able to be eaten because because it was maybe planted on Shemitah? Or is it that because it grew much more in the 8th year, is it seen as an 8th year vegetable? So we discussed a few answers last week. So DAF 58 continues on the same question. Um, so the Gemara tells us that anything that has the ability to become permitted or permissible, so then there's no way to nullify it, right? This is the concept of bitul, right, or bittul. Bitul means that one can nullify something, right? We have a very famous idea of the concept is right, batel bishishim, which means something could be nullified if it's less than 1/60th of the whole, right? So if a teeny tiny drop of milk spills into your chicken soup, if it's a teeny tiny drop, so then it's batel, it becomes nullified. It does not make the entire mixture prohibited. However, if something can become permissible, by waiting or by some other mechanism, then maybe then the Gemara tells us there is no way to nullify that thing, right? So the example that's given is tevel, right? Tevel is produce that grows from the ground. When it is harvested, it needs to be right. We need to take off trumot and masrot, right, the gifts to the priest, and then you can eat it. So um, it's how do we make it permissible? By taking off the trumot and masrot. Therefore, um, you can, right, again, you just take off this truma, and therefore that, if it gets mixed in with something else, cannot be nullified, because all you have to do is take off trumot. However, if you have something that can remains prohibited, so then it can be nullified based on a certain amount. Shmita, right, again, back to our onion case, Shmita, there's no way to make it mutar, to make it permissible, but now the question is, right, therefore, maybe there is a way to nullify it, or maybe not, right? And here the Gemara tells us we're dealing with a stringency, and therefore, even though, right, again, our onion has grown more, it does not become nullified, and the whole thing is still prohibited because it is a Shemitah vegetable. Um, Another way to look at this case, let's say rain fell on this sixth year onion, and it right, and now rain fell on the seventh year and it grew. Right, again, if it grew right from the ground, so then it becomes asur because now it's shmita and it's growing on shmita. If not, then it's okay. Right? What if we say the other way? Right? If it was a seventh year onion and it grew on the eighth year, it seems that it is permissible. So that seems to say that if it grows in the eighth year, so then it's okay. So that seems to prove that this new growth is permissible. The Gemara says, no, maybe in this case, the onion isn't fit for consumption anymore, and that's why the new growth is okay, but otherwise it would not be okay. Um, right? Let's say someone is pruning garlic with a kuti, right? The kutim, we've mentioned many times, are a nation that lived in Israel who converted under duress. Sometimes we see them as Jews, sometimes we don't. So here it says that if you're pruning this garlic, you can eat in the field. But if you suspect that the person planted it during the seventh year, right, and then it continues growing in the eighth year, right? So now um, the Gemara tells us you can actually buy it, right? Let's say you go to the marketplace and this was something, it's now the eighth year, but you think maybe there's a possibility that it was planted in the seventh year. But the Gemara seems to say because it grew extra, then it seems to be okay. So that seems to, again, answer our original question. The Gemara says no, right? Maybe what we're talking about is something that has decomposed already, the original item, and that's why you're able to buy it or eat it. So the Gemara says, wait a minute, no, because onions or garlic, when you plant them, they don't decompose. So we say, oh, maybe it was crushed beforehand and that's why you can eat it, or maybe it was a mixture, but either way, we're not sure. And then the Gemara tells us what's the law. If the growth exceeds the original plant, then it is permissible to eat it, to eat this item. The Gemara says maybe this is only for Shemitah, again, because the ground made this vegetable sanctified, right? Kadosh. And then if you plant it, so then the ground gets rid of this sanctity, this kedusha. But maybe with other cases, we mentioned the other cases last week, one being orla. If you remember, orla is you are not allowed to eat fruit from a tree that is 0 to 3 years old. Only from 4 years on can you eat the fruit. So orla and kilayim. Kilayim is when you combine different species, different produce. Those things have external factors, and therefore, even if they grow more, they're still going to remain forbidden. Okay, then the Gemara says, well, what about maaser, right? Tithes. With maaser, again, here you have when do you have the obligation to give the maaser? When it grows from the ground. So therefore, the Gemara says, but you can't get rid of this isur, this prohibition in the ground, like we said with Shemitah. So it seems to be a difference. Daf 59, it tells us no, the obligation doesn't come from the ground when it grows. Rather, the obligation comes when you smooth it in a pile, and therefore it is a little bit different than the Shemitah case that we used beforehand. The Gemara tells us on 59 that our Mishnah says that new growth doesn't nullify the original item. Again, it remains prohibited. And maybe this is because the vow itself can be nullified. Again, the Mishnah was talking about when we make vows, and we know that a vow can be nullified. Therefore, if it's something that can be nullified, there is no bitul, right? There is no nullification from a different source. Now we have a case, a Jew, a Yisrael, who owns truma, right? Truma means, right, something that was separated for the Kohen, can remove the status of truma, but there still can be nullification, bitul, right? Even though it does have a way to make it permissible. Um, and again, going back to this idea of truma, we say that, again, vows are different than truma, right? When we take a vow, we actually have a mitzvah, a commandment to nullify the vow, right? We've talked about how vows are so dangerous. You should nullify it whenever you can. But truma, even though you could remove the status, we don't want to remove the status of truma. Therefore, even though it has a way to make it permissible, you shouldn't use that, and it's better not to use that. Let's go back to our onions. When you plant onions, and again, that were truma, that you had taken off truma already. So these are regular onions, and then you plant them. When they grow, you need to take truma again, right? So the question is why? Where did the permissible part of the onion go, right? It was permissible. You put it in the ground. Now it's again prohibited. You have to take trumot again. Maybe just the new growth is obligated in truma. The Gemara says no, right? The new growth doesn't change the original item if it grew on its own. But if you planted it, then it is nullified by the majority. So you took something permissible, you planted it in the ground, now it grew. When you harvest it, you need to take truma again, even though the object that you planted originally was permissible to eat. Once it grows a new growth, now you have to take trumot off again. Okay. And then the Gemara tells us that maaser, again, the tithe, is different than maaser. Is different. Why is maaser different? Because it says in the verse, maaser ta'aser. It has this double language. And therefore, the Gemara tells us, even if maaser was taken, if you plant it and it regrew, so then you need to take maaser off again. So it seems that there's an exception because of this double language that we had. But if you planted something that needed maaser taken off and it grows, so you still need to take off the maaser after that. Okay, daf 60 on the top. If something that grows from truma, right, you take something that's truma, and then, right, the gift that you're supposed to give to the Kohen, you plant it in the ground. What grows is also truma, right? It keeps the same status. But something that grows from that second truma, that's not truma anymore. That's chulin. That's regular, mundane onions or whatever you planted. And again, the Gemara says, even if the seed doesn't decompose, if the growth exceeds the original item, now it becomes permissible. And with that, we finish the 7th chapter. And now we are going to learn the entire 8th chapter. So let's begin at the top of daf 60. So the Mishnah now is going to talk about vows that have a time limit. So let's say somebody says, I'm not going to have wine today. So what is today? The Gemara says today means till sunset, right? Till the end of the day. If it's then it says if I'm not going to have wine this week, that means all week, and that includes Shabbat, right? Here it's interesting, right? The is Shabbat the beginning of the week or the end of the week? So here the Gemara seems to say that it is the end of the week, right? It's the seventh day, and therefore, if you say this week, it includes Shabbat. This month, right? I'm not going to have it this month. That includes the whole month, but not Rosh Chodesh of the next month, right? That is seen as the next month. This year includes till the end of the year, but does not include Rosh Hashanah, right? Rosh Hashanah, as the name implies, is the beginning of the next year. I'm not going to drink this or eat this for this Shemitah cycle. So it goes till Shemitah, and it includes Shemitah. Okay, so that's one. Next, the Mishnah says, what if I say I'm not going to drink wine for 1 day? So 1 day means, right, or 1 week or 1 month. So then it is, right, that period of time, meaning from 1 day, if I say, right, I make a vow, I'm not making a vow, but if I make a vow, bli neder, that I will not drink wine for 1 day. So if it's 9:19 here in Israel, so that means I cannot drink wine till tomorrow night at 9:19. Right? It's a 24-hour period. So to a week will be a 7-day period. A month will be 30, right? 30 days. So it's an entire period of time. What if I say till Pesach? Um, so, or I say till it will have been Pesach. So that that includes, right? Sorry, till Pesach is before Pesach. Till it will have been Pesach includes Pesach. If I say till until before Pesach, right? Ad lifnei Pesach, it's a machloket if it includes Pesach or not. Okay, so now the Gemara is going to explain, right? So let's say you said, I'm not going to drink wine today. That ends at sundown. The Gemara tells us that even after sunset, you still need to go and annul your vow. The question is why the vow is finished. So it says, right, we're concerned that maybe the person will confuse today with 1 day, right? 1 day, as I mentioned, is 24 hours. And therefore, right, you might, like if I say I'm not going to drink for 1 day, I might think that it's only till sunset. And I will now be in trouble if, after sunset I drink. Therefore, anything that's today, if you say today, you still need to annul it after sunset. But the Gemara says that the opposite, you see, the opposite is not the case. Meaning, if you say 1 day and it, let's say, goes for 24 hours, you don't have to, right, annul it after that because we don't think you're going to confuse 1 day with today. 1 week, this week, right? What's the issue here? We're not sure if Shabbat is included or not. There's also a machloket if the person is making the vow on Shabbat, right? Because if I say I will not drink this wine on Shabbat and it's Shabbat, maybe it means, right? Because again, Shabbat in the language of the Mishnah and the Gemara means a week, but it also means the Shabbat day. So here we have a difference of opinion on what it means. This month, why would we think that Rosh Chodesh would be included? We know that Rosh Chodesh is the beginning of next month. The Gemara says for a 29-day month, because the first day of Rosh Chodesh is actually the 30th day of the previous month. Therefore, you might think that it would be included in the vow. And the Gemara says, no, when we call it Rosh Chodesh, even if it's 2 days, we imply that it is the beginning of the new month. Even if technically the date is the end of the last month, it is not included in the vow. What if you say, I will not drink wine day, right? Day. So it's not today and it's not one day. So what's day? So we're not sure which one it is. Right? Let's learn maybe from this year. Right? Is right if you say this year and then it becomes a leap year, we actually add that extra month. It's included in the vow. And the Gemara says, well, isn't that obvious? Maybe the person just said year, not this year or 1 year. They just said year. The Gemara says, no, year is like Hashana, meaning this year. Therefore, Yom, day, is like Hayom, which means today. And the Gemara says, no, on the top of 61, even if the person said Hashana, this year, right? You might have thought that it goes according to the majority of years, which is 12 months, and no, you go according to 13 months if it's a leap year. I'm not going to have wine for 50 years, right? For Yovel. The question is, what about the 50th year? Is it the right the beginning of the next cycle, or the end of the, or is it the end of the previous cycle? Yes, excellent. So, right, Lynn is writing about that. Right, the Yovel year is seven-year cycles, which is Shemitah, and therefore the question is, so it's 7 times 7 is 49. What is 50? Right? Is 50 its own year? And then after that, you count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or is the 50th year like 1? And therefore, that is the question. Okay, so Lynn is asking about declaring it Yovel. It is, meaning once it's Rosh Hashanah, it already becomes the Yovel year. Even if you didn't blow the shofar, we do things later on, right? Not on the first of the year, but a few days in. It is still considered the Yovel year. Though the Gemara does talk about what does that Yovel year look like. But it's still seen as the Yovel year. But here, again, the question is it seen as year 1 or not? There are verses to prove both of those ideas. So it seems to still be a machloket. Till before Pesach, we said if it's till before Pesach, there's a machloket if it includes Pesach or not. And the Gemara again says this is the question, right? People try not to get into questionable situations, right? A safek. People try not to get to enter into questionable situations. Therefore, they want to be clear. Therefore, if you say till before Pesach, it must mean till Pesach, meaning not including Pesach, or not. Sometimes people are ambiguous, and therefore we're not sure what the person meant. Right? And the Gemara brings a case, right, where a very ambiguous case, right? A person says, I accepted a betrothal for my oldest daughter, and he doesn't remember which daughter it is, because it seems like he has 2 sets of daughters, right, from the first wife and the second wife. So the first set has an older and younger, and the second set has an older and younger, but the oldest of the second set is younger than both of the girls from the first set. So when he says the eldest daughter, we're not sure what it means, and therefore there are 2 options here, right? All of them are forbidden to get married, except for the youngest of the youngest, because she is for sure not the oldest of anybody. Or the opposite, right? All of them are permitted except for the oldest of the oldest set, right? She is the real oldest, and everybody else is okay. Again, right, when we get into safek with a doubt, we try to figure out what is the most reasonable scenario. Um, Anything, so the Gemara says anything that has a set time, and then you say ad lifnei, right, until before. So it's a machloket if it's before or including that time. Okay, the Mishnah continues. Um, if I say I'm not going to drink wine till the grain harvest or till the grape harvest, right? So you're prohibited till the beginning of that season, right? So again, here's the rule: any fixed time. If you say till, right, ad, so then it means until it starts. But if you say ad sheyehei, meaning till it is, that means throughout the entire the entire harvest till the end of that harvest. If it does not have a fixed time, maybe like a harvest, so then it doesn't matter what you say, it means till the beginning and not through till the end. Um, let's say you say till the kites. In modern Hebrew, kites means summer, but here it means the fig harvest. So again, you say till it is, right? Ad sheyehei. Asur, right? So then you're prohibited till the beginning of that harvest. If you say till this harvest passes, then it's till the end. So the Gemara explains that, again, as I mentioned, kites means the picking of, it's like picking, it's picking by hand. Therefore, it must be figs because grapes are not picked by hand. They are actually like cut with a knife. And therefore, it can't be that we're talking about a grape harvest. It must be that it's talking about the fig harvest. Or, right, maybe it also includes the grape harvest as well. When we talked about the end of that period, the Gemara says that the end is till the majority of the knives have been put away, meaning the end of that harvest season. Daf 62 tells us, right, whatever is left on the trees at the end of the season, then you are not prohibited from taking, meaning it's seen as ownerless. What we say is hefker. So you can take that fruit. It's not seen as stealing, and you don't need to take off any of the tithes, the maaser, because, as I mentioned, it's hefker, it's ownerless, meaning at the end of the season, anything that's left on the trees is something that the farmer did not want, and therefore you can take whatever you want. And from here on Daf 62, there are a few stories about rabbis at the end of the harvest season. And the question is, right, we just mentioned that they are allowed to eat what was left on the trees, but they didn't want to eat them, right, the figs in particular, because, again, the sages wanted to go above and beyond, and even though they were allowed to pick the fruit, they didn't want to. Again, there's another story. A man saw Rabbi Tarfon eating these figs, and like his figs that he had left on the tree, and then he wanted to kill him, and then he like put him in a bag and started carrying him, and then he said, "I'm Rabbi Tarfon. I'm Rabbi Tarfon. Like, what are you doing?" And he stopped and he let him go, and then Rabbi Tarfon felt very guilty because he felt that he used what's called here the crown of Torah, right? The honor of Torah to save his life. And he felt very bad about using the Torah to get out of this situation. And the question is, first of all, why did the person act so extreme, right, in an extreme way? So the Gemara explains that it turns out that the guy thought that he had stolen grapes the whole season, right? And, I guess someone was stealing his grapes, and all of a sudden he walks by and he sees somebody taking grapes. He assumes that this is the guy who was stealing the whole year. And therefore he wanted to kill him. But when he found out that it was Rabbi Tarfon, so then he stopped. Um, so he was saved. And from here, since we talked about the Keter Shel Torah, the crown of the Torah, the Gemara continues, right? There's a verse that says you need to love Hashem and to cling to Him. This means that you should learn out of love, and honor will come by itself, meaning don't chase the honor of learning Torah. Rather, learn Torah because you want to learn Torah and you want to get closer to God, and the honor will come by itself, right? The very famous pasuk, right? We sing it, Deracheha darchei noam, right? The ways of the Torah are pleasant, right? We sing Eitz chayam hi lemachazikim ba, right? The Torah is like a tree of life to all those who cling to it, and those who hold fast to it are happy, right? V'tomcheha me'ushar, they are happy, right? So since we'll continue on this vein, right, that you should do things for God, not to be glorified by them, rather because God tells you to do them. And the example is that Belshazzar, right, who used the utensils of the temple, and he was uprooted from the world, right? He was doing everything for his honor, and therefore he was punished. So we should not do that. However, says the Gemara, sometimes you can say who you are, right, if you're a Torah scholar. But it seems that in the case of Rabbi Tarfon, he could have just paid the man instead of using his title, and that's why he felt so bad. Right? So, and from here, the Gemara talks about the greatness of the sage. He is great like the Kohen, right? He gets things first, just like the Kohen gets things first, right? He gets the first aliyah. He says the bracha first. And therefore, there seems to be an added stature for the sage, just like the Kohen. Okay, the next Mishnah tells us, right, I'm not going to eat the following thing till the harvest. So how do we define the harvest? The Mishnah says it's from till the beginning of the wheat harvest and not barley. However, it also depends on the place of the vow, right? Or when the season is, right? If the person lives in the mountains or lives in the valley, right? So it's really dependent on who the person is and when they are making the vow, right? If you say till, right, I will not eat so and whatever this is, till the rains, right? What's till the rains? Till the second rainfall, which we're going to explain in the Gemara in a minute, or till the time of the rainfall, right? Meaning the rainy season. If you say till the rain stops, this is till the end of the month of Nisan or till the end of Pesach, right? We always say, do not wash your windows before Pesach in Israel because it's always going to rain at least one more time, and then you're going to have to wash your windows again. Okay, the Gemara tells us on the bottom of 62, again, till Kaitz. So then you go according to where you took, right? If it's till the harvest, you go according to where you took the vow, right? Whether you live up north or in the valley. And if you said till the rains, as I mentioned, there's till the rain or the rains. This could be till the time of the rainfall, or till the second rainfall. What does that mean? Daf 63 explains there's a three-way machloket for three different dates that have to do with rain. If you remember in Masechet Ta'anit, we discussed this at length. The first opinion is, right, the first of Cheshvan, there's basically a first, second and third date, and there's a difference of opinion what those dates are. It's either the 1st, 7th, and 23rd of Cheshvan, or it's the 7th, the 17th, and the 23rd, or it's the 17th, the 23rd, and the 1st of Kislev. So the Gemara says, right, these are all the times for the rainfalls. Why do we need to know these three different dates? The first date is to know when we start praying for rain, right? V'ten tal umatar. When do we say that? That's the first date. And the third date is when we start fasting if it hasn't rained yet, meaning at all. So what's the second time period for? The Gemara says for vows, right? If you say till the rains, that's the second, right? The second date that we just mentioned. And if it rains 7 days in a row, that's counted as the first and the second rainfall. Okay, next Mishnah on Daf 63. I won't drink wine this year. As we mentioned, right, if it's a leap year, so then you cannot drink the entire year. But let's say, right, again, Adar, the first Adar and the second Adar. What if you say till the beginning of Adar? So that's till the beginning of the first Adar. But if you say till the end of Adar, that's till the end of also the first Adar. Now, I'll just remind us of two things. We learned this in Masachet Megillah, when we, also in Masachet Shkalim. It's important to understand, even though it's hard for us to think about it, nowadays where our calendars are fixed, you can actually look up the next, 20 leap years and you'll know when they are. But in the time of the Mishnah, they didn't know when it would be a leap year. They sometimes got all the way through the month of Adar and realized that it's not spring yet, and therefore they realized that they needed to leap the year. I don't know, that's definitely not how you say it, but make it a leap year. And therefore they would, add on another month of Adar, but sometimes they only did it at the end of Adar Aleph. So you wouldn't really know that that was coming. So the Gemara actually addresses that. Right? When you say the word Adar or the month Adar, do you mean number one, the first one, which really is the real Adar? However, it could mean that you mean the second Adar, because if you remember in Masachet Megillah, we discussed when do you celebrate Purim on a leap year? The answer is on the second Adar, because that is the closest to Pesach, and Purim and Pesach need to be a month away. But that's really the tension that we're feeling here. And then the Gemara suggests maybe it's different if you knew that the year was going to be extended, right? If you knew that the year was going to be extended and you said the word Adar, so then you must have meant the second Adar. But if you, right, when you do all the mitzvot, all the holidays, things of Purim in Adar, but if you didn't know and you said Adar, so then it must mean that you meant the first of Adar. Okay, next Mishnah is very interesting. First of all, it's just interesting to understand that this Mishnah doesn't have any Gemara to it. We're going to learn an entire Mishnah, and that finishes the Perek, the chapter. And the second thing, which I found very interesting about this Mishnah, is we've been extremely sensitive to language, right? In a vow, we want to make sure that we really understand what the person says, and we seem to take vows really at face value. This Mishnah is the opposite of that. And basically we say, even though you use the following words, you must have meant something different, which is interesting. I mean, we have mentioned the idea that we go according to your intentions, but it is interesting that when the words are different, we're actually going to reinterpret the words. So let's see what the Mishnah says, right? Right, you won't drink till it is Pesach, and that usually means through Pesach. However, the Gemara says, no, 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 no. You must have meant till the before the beginning of Pesach, because everyone knows that on Pesach we drink 4 cups of wine, and therefore it can't be that you meant to take a vow to not drink wine on Pesach, right? I won't eat meat till Yom Kippur. It must mean that on Erev Yom Kippur you wanted to eat meat, and therefore we are going to reinterpret the words. Right? I won't have benefit from you if you don't take wheat and wine for your son. This was a way to give somebody a gift, right? I'm like kind of forcing you to take this gift. So the person who is the recipient of that vow can say, look, I know you're trying to do me a really big favor. I'm good. And the fact that the person says that, this is okay, that's enough to nullify the vow. What if it's the opposite case? You can't have benefit from me if you don't give my son, right, the wheat and the wine. So then you yourself can annul the vow by saying, you know what, never mind. It's as if you gave it to me already, right? So again, vows that we took extremely seriously the whole Masechet, now we seem to be saying, wait, really, what were you trying to do with this vow? And if you accomplished the purpose of the vow without doing all of the conditions, maybe the vow becomes annulled, right? Let's say somebody is trying to pressure a person to marry someone, and then that person says, they can never get any benefit from me. Really, they meant having relations, but if you want to give them a ride somewhere, then you can give them a ride somewhere, because that's not what you meant. And the last Mishnah, the last part of the Mishnah, right? If a person is being pressured to eat at their friend's house, and then they say, I'm not going to enter your house or even take a sip of water in your house, but that's not really what you meant. And if you're, walking by and you're dying of thirst, you can actually go into their house and take a sip of water, because really what you meant was, I don't want to have a meal in your house, right? You're so nice. You keep inviting me. I'm going to, right? I'm not going to have any meals by you, but you didn't mean really a sip of water, even though you used the words, I will not have a sip of water, right? So again, I think it's just very interesting to see how here we're reinterpreting the words by really trying to understand what was the intention of the person when they took that vow. And with that, we include this week's daf. 1 second, I see a very long question. Hold on. An extended year, computing 11 months, saying, if through an extended year would make it 12 months, to get to the correct month and day, that would make it just 11 months. Go for the strict 11 months in days, or extend to get to the month day that would normally take 11 months in a normal year. That is an excellent question. I think when it comes to saying Kaddish, we go by 11 months. I'm not sure 100%, but I think we still go by 11 months, and you do not go into, and you go by the month and the day. It's more monthly. It's not by days. It's more about months. But it is a question with a leap year how it works. I think that we do not add an extra month. That's my gut reaction, but I'm not sure. I can actually look it up and get back to you. But excellent question. Okay. Again, wishing everyone a wonderful week. Hope you had a wonderful Hanukkah. And again, a reminder that next week class is going to be on Sunday night. Again, sorry for all the changes, but thank you for all your patience. So see you Sunday night if you can make it. Otherwise, next week, the week after, will be regular for a few weeks. So really wishing everyone a wonderful week. Yeah, thank you very much, everyone.